Yo, yo. All right. Long overdue video here. Kind of want to explain all about poison. I've been playing poison for a while now. I really like poison. Poison's sick. Um, I got a little PowerPoint slide that I made up, a little graph that shows all the pros and cons I'll go through, but let me show you kind of what my builds look like. And go through the codexes and go from there. So right now I'm running a Poison Arcane build. This is for time. I don't really use this in dungeons, and I'll go through that with the pros and cons. But you'll notice a trend. I'm pretty ornery as far as I'm not going to drop 120 poison or taste ID. They're expensive. I don't want to get rid of them. I want to use that. So, and these have advantages. So I always have 120 poison and taste. Big deal to me. I had parry, and I didn't like parry. I didn't like not having meditation. For one, you don't have access to the Wizard's Grimoire without it in this build. So that means no magic mushrooms. That means no lightning hinder. It just kind of sucks. So I put meditation recently, and I'm casting a lot more, and it's just better. My favorite build is probably the Poison Necro, for so many reasons. It's just really good. It's incredible. You know, everybody knows that summons are really good for tanking, and for that reason alone, I'm able to pump myself. I'm able to do as much damage as I possibly can, and that's incredible. Last but not least, Poison Fencer. Alchemy is so strong right now with that little buff. It's really, really good. I love this. This is a must. And again, 120 poison, 120 taste. Y'all do what you think is right for you. As far as whether you go poison at 100, keep taste at 120, doesn't matter to me. But that's how I'm going to run this. Focus just for the extra swing speed, whatever. Little pro tip here: if you use like a faster weapons, as far as how I play, the faster you hit, the faster you get the poison. I'm gonna put a little B-roll at the end of this of me killing as this build in SSC, because I'm able to gather up a lot. And kind of how I play that is I go through and I poison everything. I use my explosion potions, and I'm able to decimate. It's a really strong build for AoE farming solo. Let's look at the poison codex, the poison kit. So it depends on what you're running, right? So for my arcane, I'm gonna run this exactly: susceptible, targeted venom, one in terminal, efficient, because in time you're constantly getting resist. You're not getting your lethal poison off. And this is one of the cons, I would say, to casting poison, is you're not guaranteed that lethal like you are with the melee. You know what I mean? So efficient you have to have. I go through thousands of Nightshade in time. Now, if I am going to play my necro on a boat, I'm gonna trade out targeted venom, because this is only good if you're against one target at a time. I'm gonna replace this targeted venom with airborne instead, because it's gonna be spreading, right? So that's really, really good with multiple targets. I love this for boating. Now, if I'm doing my my Dexer, I'm gonna replace targeted venom with Infimble, right? Depending on your play style, you could take out susceptible. I'm not too worried about the poison tick damage or the resistance. I'm more worried about being able to take that greater, that 18% damage resistance. That's huge for the Dexers. It could be really good for the arcane too, but I don't play that way. So I would take susceptible out, put that, and keep targeted venom if I'm against big mobs. But like I said, if I'm doing my AoE, which is the only way I play that build, I'm taking targeted venom and adding Infamil instead. Moving on, we'll stick with the Dexter for now. This is how I run this one. Accurate is a mandatory, obviously. For the poison sting, you have to have this. It doesn't make any sense without it. Now they added the 5 seconds, and I'm sure this overrides that 5 seconds. It has to override that 5 seconds. You have a 30% chance within that 5 seconds or whatever. It doesn't matter. Really, really good. Love that. Now you have to have mixed results. This is increasing damage resistance by 1.5 at the end and increasing the duration. So I think those are 45-minute buffs. That's insane. That is insane. And how I play, again, I play revolving around getting those explosion potions and those poison ticks to do all the damage for me. So I use volatile. Increases the explosion potion damage. That's pretty big to me. This is how my chain looks currently. I'm an 18 linker. Been playing for a long time, but these are what I've ended up with. So like I said, I play around poison tick damage. That's what I like. This is how I like to play. So we have I have about over a 70% chance to not ignore, and I still have get resistances on mobs in time and other dungeons. You are going to inevitably they're going to resist your poison sometimes, but I'm looking for this. Now my poison ticks, it depends, right? It depends. Now if I'm running targeted venom, I'm getting about an 800 to 2000, depending on the mob, depending on the situation, buffed, unbuffed, whatever. So I'm looking around, and then if I'm without this and I'm doing a bunch of mobs, it's about 300 to 700. And these are just spectacle. I'm not, I don't remember exactly, but that matters to me. So I love to play around the poison damage itself. Now, here's a little thing I like to look at. Now, as arcane, you can tell I can upgrade all of these 100 times. I don't care. I use leech because I have a mana problem. Leyline because I have a mana problem. Now, I don't have that mana problem so much at the moment, but my attack, my damage does not come from spells. It doesn't. I don't have eval. I don't have any of this on these echoes. So my spell damage is poo poo. It's not very good. My damage comes from poison. You can play this differently. You can add the eval instead of the med, and these will do the best they can to keep you full mana. But I don't like playing that way. You can't have parry here. You can't have parry, in my opinion, because you need to have the you need to have mushrooms. It's a mandatory thing. I go through 30 or 40 in time alone. These are going to do more damage already. You're going to hit for 200 damage on these, on every single spell that you have a thing into, right? And you can even have the mana refund chance. The higher you are tier wise in your aspect, the more refund chance you're going to get. So these matter in the long run. So, RIP to discipline. And my background's in discipline wrestling. So that's why this is so high, but I used this to level this because I know refund chance is huge. Now if I were boating and I were playing as my necro build, I'm going to run, I'm going to take out some of these single targets. Like I'm not going to have mana vampire. I'm not going to have this cure. I'm probably not going to have a few of these. I'm going to go meteor swarm chain lightning. These are huge, man. These are huge for AoE. You don't want to hit your friends, right? That's the biggest thing in my opinion about these is I don't want to hit my friends. So these only hit on the first cast within the allotted time, right? So the first spell every 20 seconds is going to do 35% more damage and only hit creatures. Huge. You're in a group. These poison builds thrive in a group. You can focus the poison target in time. If my poison sting or poison strike hits in time with the Python, it's max damage every time. I don't care. If I'm lethal with a lethal poison, it's 10k. And I love that. That's how I like to play. I like seeing those big numbers. And you can still see those big numbers without casting Flame Strike every single time, right? This is not the preferred spell. You want to use the Poison Strike, the all these little small spells and your Corpse Explosion. That's how I like to do it.
There's actually a burning cigarette.
So let's talk about the graph. So I got the split up general poison, which means like all the poisons in one. Poison Necro, Poison Fencer, and Arcane Poison Necro. Starting with poison as a whole. The pros to this are it's always going to be strong. So think of this as they've nerfed it a few times, but they can't really nerf it into the ground. It's always going to be viable in the sense that you can always link towards higher poison damage, more damage to poison creatures, and with being necro, every target's going to be diseased, so those links will go towards that. I don't think it could ever not be a top 10 build. A pro for me is one size fits all as far as it goes for the links. So how I like to play is around that poison damage, and that link itself, you could tell, was my heavy hitter. I got 53% extra poison damage with what I have now, and it can only go up from there. It's high damage. All of these builds aren't doing what my disciplined wrestler would have done. They're all hitting very hard in relations to what their counterparts could do. They're all great in groups. Mindful that they're all great in groups. So some of them might say they're great in groups. They're all really good in groups. The cons to poison in general is it's not very noob friendly. I don't think poison is your first build, but it's not your last. The reason that is, I think it has a high barrier of entry. You have to buy the poison scrolls, the necro scrolls, the taste ID scrolls. You got to level all of those up. If you're doing my type of poison fencer, you have the alchemy. I'm gonna have the clips in the back that show you kind of how I play that poison fencer, because I think it is so much fun. Like I say here, it's a fun play style. Another con would be that the kits aren't super cheap, because Nightshade isn't cheap. And, you know, it's the highest costing reg on a player vendor. It's just not the cheapest. In time alone, I spend over 1,000 Nightshade. I'm always buying Nightshade when we get a chance. The biggest con, in my opinion, to Poisoner as a whole is there only can be one Poisoner per group if you want that every character in the group to excel. And I mean by that is, if I am a high tier Poisoner and I lethal, the lower tier Poisoner, even if it's one aspect lower, will not get a lethal off. Mine will always take priority. And that can make the whole group not as strong as it could be if you had more than one Poisoner. All right, starting with Necropoison, the pros to Necropoison. In my opinion, out of all three of these, it's the highest damaging. And that kind of ties into summons, right? I'm not taking any damage, so I don't have to move around. In dodge mechanics, I'm constantly casting. Your liches, if you're running a lich, are doing damage on top of the poisons, and they don't take away from the targeted venom, obviously. So you're just doing a lot more damage as this. I'm a pack mule. How I run it, as I have camping, and camping is extremely awesome. You do more damage, you carry more. I'm running out of dungeons with 40,000 gold. And this is the best for boating, in my opinion. PvE boating, for sure. None of these are PvP. I'm strictly talking about, PvE. So the best for boating, for sure. And it's kind of it's the mid-cost kit, which is great. The cons. We all know your summons can be iffy at times. Sometimes they suck. But they always suck in time. There's the few situations where you use them to absorb damage when you're trying to sprint across Prev, or you're trying to get to the little portals or the teleporters or whatever. But I could even put this at 99% of the time. They aren't for time. So this build just isn't good in time. It's good everywhere else though. So that's that. Casting poison is RNG. This one kind of goes into arcane as well, but casting poison is so iffy as far as I'll cast, I'll get a greater. I'll cast it again, I'll get a deadly. And then sometimes I'm casting 6 times before I get a lethal. And the mob's already dead if you're in a group. So you didn't do any damage. You're not going to poison strike. I wouldn't even poison strike a deadly poison. Lethal is just light years ahead of all the other poisons. So that can suck. And that happens quite often in time specifically. And in other places as well. And for this specific one, you're not taking a hit. You're not a tank. You're a glass cannon. That's why you have summons. So this one just isn't able to take a hit. Poison Fencer, the biggest pro, in my opinion, to this is it's always going to be a lethal. This kind of ties back into it's a grief to have more than one. If I'm a high tier Poison Fencer, your caster is obsolete. You don't have one if they're necro poison. You know what I mean? So thankfully, it hasn't been a huge issue in my experience because I am a high tier poisoner, but they aren't helping your cause when they're a high tier fencer. You know what I mean? They're just constantly going to get that edge on you. But solo, that's awesome. Or if you're the only one in the group, that's awesome. You don't have to waste that time. Another big pro for me and how I like to play in my fun little play style that I have is it's great for AoE. It's not the most damage, but it is really good damage. Out of all three, this one's probably right next to Necro Poison. The cons to this one is it's not a tank. You can't really build it as a tank. You don't take a ton of damage, and you can take damage, but you're not a tank. You grief caster poisoners at top tier. Like I just said, you get lethal poison every time. Can't have more than one in a group. And if you have a high tier fencer, you're not getting it. Now, especially because most people, unlike myself, I like to run that 120 poison. Most people don't. So if you don't, you're just going to get, your poisons aren't going to stick. The other poisoner's going to get it. Dexters just aren't the best in general. And that's just a pro or a con. That's just a con in general. I think this is the highest cost, because I like to run good weapons. And since you are going to get hit, I like to wear better armor. So your kit is going to cost more, and it's unfortunate that Dexters in general just aren't the best comparatively to their counterpart. Let's move on to Arcane. The big pro to this is you can be super tanky, in my opinion. You can run parry, but I don't like to run parry. I like the mana. I'm my role, your role as a poisoner is to do damage. Right? You're not the tank. This kind of goes into one of the cons. But this is the lower cost kit. You're wearing plate because you're arcane. You're still got full mana. You're not gonna use the best staff in the world. You're just gonna have like a mediocre kit, which doesn't matter. You're fantastic in time, which means you're great in groups. These two are hand in hand, and they're both kind of repetitive, but they are very similar in the fact that you're so good in a group, as long as you're the only poisoner, that your group just increases damage tenfold. Big con, if you don't have meditation, you don't have mana. In my experience. If you're in time, you're constantly casting poison because some of them are resisting, you're not getting the lethal, so you have no mana. So you have to run meditation, and the way I run the build, if you don't have meditation, you don't have the Wizard Grimoire, which you don't have the mushrooms, and you don't have good damage. So you have to have meditation. It's not an option with my build. You're tanky, but you're not the tank. What I mean by this is if you're an arcane in general, you're gonna just be able to take more hits because you're wearing the plate. I'm not as tanky as the fencer, as the dexer, but arguably you are tankier because you're able to heal yourself because you have the wrestling. You're not getting interrupted, but you're still not the tank. I'm not gonna sit there and tank, anything. Can't take an Udyug, can't take any of them. So you're not a tank, but you can take a hit. And I don't think it's the best solo farmer. In my experience and how I like to play, it's just not better than its counterparts here, the Necro Poisoner or the Fencer. It's just not better. But it is still good. Now, side notes, with all of this in mind, like I said, I don't think it's going to be nerfed to the ground ever. They're not, our devs are light years ahead of other devs in the fact that this game is playable in all states. You know, a caster is going to be good. Tamers are going to be good. Mages are going to be good. And poison is its own thing. It's its own thing. Bards are always going to be good with lyric. Poisoners are always going to be good with poison aspect. It's just how the cookie crumbles. I could be wrong. Tomorrow they could see this and go, wow, he made a lot of good points. Necro is really good. Nerf him to the ground. Whatever. I'll go play Poison Fencer. Whatever. I'll go play this. You know what I mean? Like my poisons are always going to hit high. Otherwise, why would they make poison just so bad that you don't want to play it? You know what I mean? They're not stupid. We know they know what they're doing. So I'm just going to have faith in them and know that poison is always going to be strong. They want everything to be strong. My biggest thing in this is cost efficiency compared to having 6 different builds with 6 different links. This one, I can play all 3 of these with 1 link. And that is so big for a casual player. I can have, I would recommend getting those poison damages first, but that's how I play. If you don't want to just play poisoners and you want to play a poisoner, you want to play an actual arcane mage or an actual dexer that's not poison, then try doing like damage to poison creatures, damage to diseased creatures, damage in general, you know, something that'll kind of allow you to play with all of one link for everything. That's how I like to play. I have one character that has every build on it. That's how I like to play. And I like to have one link. I've had and I have multiple links, but they're not nearly to the status of my poison. So that's why I'm just all poison at this point. But I hope you guys enjoyed. I'm gonna put a couple of clips of me on my poison fencer at the end of this, that y'all can watch how cool and the fun play style. Most of these were streamed. I stream this game as much as I can, but I hope you enjoyed the video. Hope you learned something. If I forgot something, message me on Discord. I'm Sweetman, or Sweet in game, Sweetman on Discord. I'm a high rank individual in LC, so if you're looking for a guild, we're always looking out for new players and veteran players alike. We run time, we're chill, we're super casual, we're a great group. So again, hope you enjoyed. Take a look at these videos. If you have any questions, hit me up. But either way, thank you guys. See you later.